everybody. So we're back now with the next phase of my cancer treatment, and after the 2 weeks went by, I went back supposedly to have my wounds checked by the surgeon to make sure that everything was going well. They told my family and myself at the hospital when they did the surgery that they got everything, and all I had to do was heal up and have my reconstruction surgery and I would be good to go. So we came home with a very hopeful, celebratory outlook, and there were a few days there that I was definitely three sheets to the wind, taking a lot of medication and really not able to do anything. You're not, especially if they take your lymph nodes, you're not able to use your arms. You're going to need to then be wearing the clothes that I showed in a previous video that only button up and down or zip up and down, and they're larger than what you need, so you can easily put them off and on, because you cannot move your arms past just raising them a little. And your left arm, if you've had, or whichever arm, your left or right arm, if you've had lymph nodes removed, you don't have any feeling, at least I didn't, under your arm, and your mobility is very limited. So you're not up and around or doing very much. You're mostly just resting in the recliner, watching TV, visiting with friends. And it's not a very comfortable time because you can only sleep on your back. You can't really get comfortable to sleep, and so that just a time to heal from the surgery is what those 2 weeks were like. And so when we went back for the 2-week checkup, my husband and my friend went with me, and we were there with the surgeon, and she looked at my wounds, and everything was healing very well. Still getting too much drainage to take the drains out, so we could not take the drains out at 2 weeks. But all of the wounds were healing well. There was no problems with any of my incisions. Everything looked great. And so when she finished looking at everything, she said, why don't we sit down and talk for a few minutes? And I thought in my mind, well, what do we have to talk about? Because I'm healing well. There's obviously no problem there. And I was told that the cancer was all taken in the surgery, so there shouldn't be a problem. And so I sat down, and my husband and my girlfriend was there, and she pulls out one of these pieces of paper, which I've seen before when I had my biopsy, and says, "Let's talk about the pathology report." And she wasn't smiling, and of course people at Vanderbilt don't smile very much anyway. Proceeded to explain to me that no, you didn't have one small tumor in your left breast, you had 3 tumors in your left breast, and we found cancer in your lymph node, and we also found the atypical cells in your right breast that would eventually probably convert over to a ductal cancer. So now, instead of going home to heal, I'm talking to a surgeon about having the rest of my lymph nodes removed, about having radiation treatment. It was just absolutely devastating to me. I thought I was going to pass out. If I had not been sitting in a chair, I would have passed out. And I looked at my friend and I said, I think I'm going to pass out. And they started getting me alcohol wipes to sniff and stuff to try to keep me from losing consciousness. And I mean, I was just shocked and devastated at the news because I was so unprepared to hear it. And Of course, she was a surgeon, the lady that was explaining all of that to me, and she thought I should have the lymph node removal surgery. If I did have the lymph node removal surgery, then I would still have to have 3 weeks of radiation. If I didn't have the lymph node removal surgery, I would have to have 5 weeks of radiation. And the lymph node removal surgery comes with a very increased risk of a condition called a lymphedema, which is where your arm swells to like 5 times its normal size and it doesn't go away. There's no treatment for it. There's nothing you can do about it. And you have to deal with that for the rest of your life. It's very debilitating. And I really did not want lymphedema. When you just start on this journey with breast cancer, and I'm sure every cancer has its same set of, okay, here's what I'm going to do now. And you have your mental goals of here's what I hope to accomplish. For some people, they hope to not have to have chemotherapy and hope to not have their hair fall out, or some people they hope to not have to have radiation, or for some people they, I hoped not to have surgery, but I did. Now, I didn't have to have the bilateral mastectomy. That was my decision based on their tests. And let me say, if I haven't already, I'm going to say it again, I had mammograms every year, I had ultrasounds, I had CT scans, I had MRIs, and nothing showed the cancer that I had. My decision to have a bilateral mastectomy was my decision. I made that simply because I never wanted to have to do this again. I was not willing to go through the rest of my life being afraid that if I had the lumpectomy like they recommended, then I would at a later date have to come back and have a mastectomy with my left breast, or that the cancer would go to my right breast and then I'd have to have a mastectomy there. I just wasn't willing to have to chase cancer for the rest of my life. So I thought, hey, if I'm going to have a surgery, let's just do it all and get it over with. And I'm glad that I did that against the recommendation of my doctors, because they never would have found that cancer if I had not said, no, I'm going to have a bilateral mastectomy. I'm not going to deal with this the rest of my life. So there I was sitting in the office finding that I was in fact going to need to have a further procedure. And so I spoke with the surgeon, and of course, her being a surgeon, she thought it would be best for me to have the lymph node removal. And then I spoke with the radiation oncologist, and she thought that it would be as effective to have the radiation. If there was any cancer left in the lymph node, she felt like that would take care of it. Some of the cancer had started to move outside of the lymph nodes, but if you'll remember in a previous video, I said that it doesn't move fast, so it's slow growing, but it is aggressive. So the fact that they saw some growing outside of the lymph node was a concern. The decision I ultimately made was to do the radiation, and that was 5 weeks, 25 days, every day for 5 weeks, not on the weekends, just Monday through Friday, every day. And they did my whole left side, and you can probably still see I still have some of the burns from that, and we'll talk about that when we get to the radiation part. In the next video, I will talk to you about lymphedema and explain more about that and why I did not want to do it. Also, I wanted to show you this little belt or apron or whatever you want to call it that they gave me. Some lady makes and donates to the hospital, and it fits around your waist and just fastens just with a little click fasten like this. But what's so nice about it is you can put your drains in these little pockets. So that made it so much easier for me after I got these, which was 2 weeks after when I went back for my 2-week checkup. Someone said, oh, we've got some things you can put that in. So I saved mine because I know I'm going to have another surgery and I'll need it again. And then I'll wash it and return it for someone else to use. But so that's what happened when we went back for the pathology report that I didn't know I was going to have. Also, I want to show you the drain record. This is something else that you'll use with your drains when you come home. Every time you change the drain, when it gets full, you measure it and you write down in the column how much fluid you got out. And you keep a record of it each and every day. And when you get down to having almost nothing in your drain when you empty it each day, that's when they'll take them out. And they actually, even after they removed mine, I still, when I went back to have my expanders filled, which we'll talk about in another video, there was a lot of fluid there. They had to still drain fluid out even after they took the drains out. So you want to be honest about how much fluid you're getting, and you do not want to take those drains out even though they are a pain in the neck before you're supposed to. So after that I came home, and one of the things I told my sister was, whatever happens, do not let me miss the royal wedding. And I said, if whatever it takes to get me upstairs to see, because our TV's upstairs in the middle level of our house, I said, make sure you get me up there to see the royal wedding. And she said, I'll do it. So when this video's over, we'll just post a few pictures of us celebrating the royal wedding. That was a fun morning for us, and it all worked out really good. I had a lot of love and support, I can't say that enough, while I was trying to heal and prepare myself for the next step of my treatment. And when we do our next video, we will talk about lymphedema, what that is, and what can be done to prevent it. And we will also talk about getting the expanders filled, which was an experience all in itself. So I hope everybody has a great day today, and I look forward to meeting with you again.